this electoral body, the Independent National Electoral Commission, the powers to go ahead and reconfigure the bimodal voter accreditation system machines, Bvas machines, for Saturday's election. And that's the breaking news we're following right now. And joining us right from the Court of Configure the bimodal voter accreditation system, Bvas machines, to be used for the February, that was used for the February 25th presidential election, for the March 11 election. Now with this court application that has been granted to Inec, Inec is now empowered to use those Bvas machines to conduct the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. Now the governorship elections will be holding in 28 states across the federation, and of course 36 states of the federation. And of course, we've been following the details with some of the lawyers speaking earlier on as to what actually happened in court. And of course, our correspondent, Godfrey Eshemoge, is still standing by for us, and we'll be having him pretty soon. But of course, I would like to let our viewers know that the Court of Appeal started sitting on this matter since around 2 p.m. Local time here in Nigeria, when the case was brought up. And then, of course, we had other political leaders in attendance, including the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who was in court personally alongside the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, all to see if their application will go through. And of course, the top three major presidential candidates have filed some cases against Inec. And of course, I'm being told that Godfrey Eshemoge, our correspondent, is still standing by here to join us on all of this. Godfrey, can you bring us to speed on some of the decisions by the Court of Appeal, and of course the last lawyer who just what the court ruled, and of course some of the submissions that were made in court, including some of the statements made by the lawyers not quite long ago. But the country has approved the use of the Bvas machines for Saturday's governorship and state houses of assembly elections. And of course, I've been told that Godfrey Eshemoge is available. Now, Godfrey, can you bring us to speed very quickly on the Court of Appeal's ruling allowing Inec to reconfigure the Bvas machines for Saturday's elections, and of course what the lawyers to some of these applicants said after the court's ruling?
So the Appeal Court has finally granted the appeal of Inec to reconfigure its Bvas machine, because the court agreed with Inec that the election scheduled for this weekend is time bound. Of course, Inec has prepared ahead of those elections, and the court, in its own words, granted the appeal by Peter Obi and other applicants in this suit to stop Inec from reconfiguring its Bvas amount to time in hands of Inec, and preventing it from going ahead with the elections which have been scheduled for this weekend. So it says Inec should go ahead and reconfigure its machine to prepare on time for the elections, and then it equally granted the appeal. It equally granted the appeal by Bola Ahmed Tinubu seeking to be granted access to the sensitive electoral materials so that he can prepare to defend his case when the two other contenders, that's Labour Party candidate Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, come before this court to challenge the outcome of the presidential elections held on the 25th of February.
All right, Godfrey, we actually also read that the Court of Appeals judges, led by Justice Ikie, actually granted Inec this power separately, after saying that Inec must store some of the content of the Bvas machines that are to be taken from the February 25th election into a back-end server so that it won't be tampered with. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, that has been the contention of Inec from the get-go. Inec has contended that its devices, its data are safe, and the back end more like a backup for this data. So it has dispelled fears that Inec is trying to, as it were, destroy evidence. You know, after the elections, which have been keenly contested by the PDP and the Labour Party, Inec has repeatedly said its data from the elections have been stored at the back-end server of the Bvas. So the court too has agreed with this, and therefore says, well, you can go ahead and reconfigure this, and anybody who wants to see this data can actually access this device's data from the back end of Inec server, which Inec has repeatedly said will not be tampered with to help in prosecuting the cases of the PDP and the Labour Party who have contested this elections very, very strongly.
And talk to us about the reaction of the Labour Party's lawyer, including some of the party leaders who were there. I mean, we saw the presidential candidate Peter Obi storming the court alongside the national chairman of the party. And then, of course, there was also a briefing by another lawyer after the court ruling. Talk to us about all of that. All right, Godfrey, if you can hear me, I'd like you to talk to us about the reaction from the Labour Party and its lawyer on the court's ruling, considering that the Labour Party had wanted Inec not to be given this permission. All right, it seems we're having some audio challenges, but of course we are still following the breaking news that's coming out of the Nigerian capital, Abuja, where the Court of Appeal has granted the electoral body, Inec, the permission to go ahead and reconfigure the bimodal voter accreditation system machines, Bvas machines as they are called, for the March 11th governorship state houses of assembly elections, where Inec can now go ahead and reconfigure the machines in such a way that the information for the February 25th polls will be stored at the back-end server of the Commission as directed by the same Court of Appeal, while it goes ahead to use the same Bvas machines to conduct elections into the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. And of course, we've seen a lot of people storming the Court of Appeal earlier on, including the national leadership of the Labour Party, where we have the presidential candidate and the national chairman of the party, all storming the court to hear their application to counter Inec's application. But unfortunately, they were unsuccessful at having the application. The Court of Appeal says that Inec should be granted the permission. Justice Joseph Inec, who actually led other justices, actually said that Inec has to do this because it's more of a national duty to ensure that the elections hold on Saturday and the elections are not shifted. And the panel, while delivering the application, said that the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, should be assured that Inec will not tamper with data used in the presidential election, because the court's order is that that data should be stored at the back-end servers of Inec and must not be tampered with by Inec. And I'm being told that Godfrey, a Shemogi Arrest correspondent, is back online. So Godfrey, can you talk to us about the reaction from the Labour Party and its lawyers after that? All right, let us listen to the lawyers and what they had to say immediately after the court's ruling.
To procure vital evidence required for their petition, Inec filed an application seeking to vary those orders, particularly as it relates to the server, the Bvas machine. Luckily for us today, the court refused to vary that order. That order is sustained and remains. In another ruling, the court was of the view that given the back-end server which Inec undertook to provide to secure those materials, that order is partly sustained. Those initial orders are partly sustained. But in all, the good news is that the initial order of the court made on the 3rd of March, permitting Peter European Labour Party to inspect the facilities of Inec, including the Bvas machine, which they intend to use to prove their petition. Those orders are sustained. The applicant seeking to vary it was refused. So that is the story for today. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Godfrey, can you just bring us to speed as to what exactly was the reaction from the Labour Party's officials at the venue, and then, of course, what other lawyers have been saying about the court's ruling?
Yes, the lawyer of the Labour Party has been very elated. The fact that the fears about losing the data, the electoral data, which they're supposed to access to prove their case of alleged rigging, has been more like dispelled, as it were. So they have access to these items. So basically, they can forward their case because they are confident that the data are not under any threat, because they had feared initially that Inec was supposed to were intending to destroy these data. But then before I go on, we have the Arise News legal analyst right here, Michinwe Igwebe, to expand further on this. You followed the court proceeding. So tell us what we take home from it.
Yes, thank you. We have 3 applications before the court today, and the learned justices were very clear as to the reconfiguration. They made it clear that to reconfigure the Bvas machine would, in essence, be okay for Inec to do that. However, notwithstanding that, they said that to stop Inec from reconfiguring the machine would mean to tie their hands so that they are not able to proceed with the March 11th election. So the justices gave the go-ahead to Inec, saying that they can go ahead and reconfigure the machine so as to proceed with the governorship election on the 11th of March.
Thank you very much. Over to you at the Abuja Stadium. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you so much, Godfrey Sheboge. And of course, Arise analyst, legal analyst Chinwe Izebu, who has been in court for us to help us understand some of this. And it looks like a win-win situation for both Inec and, of course, the Labour Party. From what Godfrey had told us, the Labour Party seems elated that the content of the Bvas from the February 25th polls will not be tampered with, because the court directed that it should be stored at the back-end server of Inec, while Inec reconfigures the devices for the March 11th governorship and state houses of assembly election. And that's how it's been from the appeal courts, where we having this breaking news emanating from the Nigerian capital, Abuja, and of course we'll resume regular programming. Thank you for watching.